America has seen a surge in politically motivated violence following the Supreme Court's leaked draft opinion. There have been more than 50 reported incidents of arson and vandalism against pregnancy crisis centers and churches across the country. The radical pro-abortion group Jane's Revenge is allegedly behind many of these targeted attacks. The group is now apparently declaring open season on pro-life clinics. President Biden's attorney general is facing growing criticism for the DOJ's inaction over the threats, with Senator Tom Cotton now calling for Merrick Garland to resign, writing, quote, "If you are unwilling to protect Americans from these attacks, you should resign." Although, in my opinion, he added, you should resign in any case. The FBI is now finally taking action, telling Fox News in a statement it is indeed investigating these crimes. Rob, since May 2020, over 130 incidents have occurred across 29 states and the District of Columbia at Catholic properties alone. This is out of control, and up until now, dead silence from the Attorney General.
Yeah, and I think that we have to sort of draw a direct line between what's going on right now and what's going on, like you said, in 2020. You know, we're 2 years out of the summer of love, right? Remember when radical left-wing activists destroyed cities all across this country? And I think that the sort of inaction from the Democrat leaders at the time emboldened them, right? Even so far as Kamala Harris tweeting out a bail fund to bail out these rioters. So I think that since these Democrat leaders are not coming out forcefully and strongly against this, this is going to radicalize people to continue to do these things. And there's a direct line, like I said, between that and these attacks on these pro-life centers that we're seeing. The only way they're going to stop is if the Democrats and the leaders in charge send a strong and forceful message against this that starts with the Department of Justice, that starts with the Biden administration, that starts with Merrick Garland.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not getting that. In fact, we're getting the complete opposite. Julie, let's take a listen to what Nancy Pelosi had to say about it. Let's watch.
There has been a number of attacks on churches, on crisis pregnancy centers. Republicans are going after Democrats for not saying anything, and they're saying that your rhetoric is contributing to these attacks on these crisis pregnancy centers.
Well, let me just say this. A woman has a right to choose, to live up to her responsibility. This talk of politicizing all of this, I think, is something uniquely American and not right.
I mean, that's the Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
There is no condemnation of violence.
No.
She calls herself a Catholic, and then she absolutely refuses to address this. This is appalling, and it's derelict, because this violence, this vandalism, what if it ends in injury? What's the death that's going to occur that would then be on her hands for failing to condemn it in a strong, full, willful way?
This is another example of double standards coming from the White House, coming from Washington, coming from Democrats. Because if these threats, and they are murderous terrorist threats, were being made at abortion clinics in this country, you know for a fact the FBI would not only be investigating, there would be arrests right now. There would be arrests for those people that are orchestrating these potential murders. These are threats on women who are pregnant, for God's sakes. They're carrying a child. I agree with Senator Ted Cruz. He said this on Fox on Wednesday evening, that they are threatening terrorist conduct. He says they're threatening to attack, to burn, to murder people. Senator also added that these pro-life centers exist to help expectant mothers to, quote, give birth to those children. I believe that the Attorney General needs to be held accountable. He needs to resign. If Merrick Garland is not going to take action, he needs to get out of there. Somebody needs to, because somebody could lose their life, and then it'll be too little too late.
And Kaylee, in addition to the imploring of every American to asking the DOJ to do this, there was a letter written by 25 pro-life leaders, among them mostly think tank leaders, and they're calling the AG's attention to the law, right? They're calling on the highest attorney in the land, essentially, to do his job. They say, look, 18 U.S. Code 247 assigns to the Attorney General the duty of investigating and prosecuting those who do damage to religious property or participate in the obstruction of persons in the free exercise of religious beliefs. Why does it take religious leaders and pro-life activists to implore the AG to issue a prompt, comprehensive, and public response to do his job?
Right. So a letter sent yesterday, right? 25 pro-life groups. Well, there was another time a letter was sent. We got into this at the very end of the show yesterday, at the end of this segment, but it merits bringing up again. September 29th, a letter was sent from the National School Board Association to the Biden administration, targeting parents, saying that parents are a threat, that this needs to be addressed. Turns out, because there was just an internal investigation conducted by the NSBA, there was significant coordination between the Biden White House and the NSBA in sending this letter. and the NSBA and the Department of Justice, who 5 days later, after the letter was sent, issued a memo to the FBI to look into this threat from parents. Difference. Parents were not vandalizing school boards. Parents were not beheading statues in front of Catholic places of worship. Parents were not firebombing school boards. Parents were simply showing up and fighting for their children respectfully and with their voices. So that was a liberal interest. This is not a liberal interest. They're not going to show up. It's completely derelict because the opinion hasn't even been released. What's going to happen when the opinion's released? Yeah. Side note, I just have to address Nancy Pelosi saying I'm a very Catholic person and I believe in every woman's right to make her own decision. I mean, that's like saying I'm Joe Biden and I'm the most popular president ever in United States history. That's a confounding statement, not to mention her lack of condemnation you pointed out.
And it's also legally inaccurate, which is, for me, as an attorney, just a source of unending frustration that these political leaders, among them so many that are attorneys, continue to conflate the law and conflate the issue that was at hand in this decision, the leaked opinion. Obviously, it's not formalized yet, but it has nothing to do actually with that right. Cheryl, as Kaylee was starting to enumerate, a lot of these things include arson, beheading statues. There's a significant amount of vandalism that, frankly, you could argue is violence. And among the persuasive arguments here, it's that the silence from this administration endangers Americans even more.
The silence appears to be a check mark. Go right ahead. And that is the message that Merrick Garland is giving by not acting. And Senator Tom Cotton is absolutely right. Merrick Garland needs to act. This should stop now. But it's not going to. It makes me so sad after 20 years in this business as a journalist. I will tell you, when we're going to have an uproar about it when someone is murdered. Yeah. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And
but it almost happened to Kavanaugh.
But, exactly.
That's right. The saddest thing about that is that when somebody actually does get hurt, when this does end up in the death of someone, they'll just pepper right over it. Yeah. And will not get coverage, and nobody will say anything about it even then. That's the saddest thing about it.
We're talking about churches, by the way. Yeah. I mean, a church is supposed to be your safe place to meditate, to have your conversation with God, to be with your community. That's the biggest joy I think that I get out of going to church. And I'm Episcopal, and I will tell you something else. Good for the Archbishop in San Francisco. Good for them for saying, you know what? No, communion. You are not. I mean, if you want to be a member of the Catholic Church, then you need to be a part of that community. And she's the one that says that this is all un-American. She's the one that's un-American.
And also, let me say, these pro-life organizations, I speak out a lot of them. I'm very passionate about it. These are some of the most loving people, benevolent organizations. They're not the ones out there, throwing terse words, fighting against abortion. They're the ones there when a woman comes in during her darkest hour, when perhaps she has no family supporting her. They are there. They become lifelong family members to these women who sometimes deliver a baby and go on to become. I've been there. I was just at one a few weeks ago where I saw a mom give a testimony. My child is here because of this pro-life pregnancy center that has become my family. Yeah. That's what these organizations are. They are good. They are benevolent, and they are being targeted.
It's not just about pro-life. It's about pro-religion, and this is anti-religion. This is a war on religion. That's what this is.
And just before we close, I want to bring up again what Jane's Revenge said, because I think it's important to remind viewers of exactly what that attack looks like. From here forward, any anti-choice group who closes their doors and stops operating will no longer be a target. But until you do, it's open season. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we are dealing with. And that is what we have had up until now inaction about by the DOJ. It's frightening. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.